I've been looking,
searching, trying to find the right way to walk. Stay beside me, guide me, try me. I wanna walk in your light.
I've been looking,
searching, trying to find the right way to walk.
The Lord is my light, my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. And whom shall I be afraid? When the wicked, even my enemy, my faith and trust I put all in thee. Believe you got the world in your hand. You bless me, Lord, I know I can stand.
Show me the way, Lord.
I will be faithful, for I am desolate and afflicted. Lord, show me the way.
And now we will have the reading of the law. Found in Exodus, the 20th chapter, verses 1 through 17. Go ahead.
And God spake all these words, saying, I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's.
Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 12th chapter. Read verses 13 and 14.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments. For this is the whole duty of man. For God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Let's go into Revelation chapter 22, verses 12 through 14.
12. And behold,
verses 14 and 15.
Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For without are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and idolaters, and whosoever loveth and maketh a lie.
Well, let's thank God for the reading of the law. And as always, I'm glad to stand before you on the Lord's Sabbath day. You know, sisters and brothers, I've been watching YouTube, and more I'm seeing people on there trying to debunk the Bible. Had some so-called wise guy on there last night saying that, says all the story concocted, and everybody treating him like he has some wisdom. And I got one preacher that used to be a preacher, now he's still preaching, but he's preaching against the Bible now. And he's saying stuff like, you see what in the Bible you can't find out anywhere in history where it took place. And I'm looking at this guy. He was dumb when he was a Sunday preacher. And now he has stopped preaching and preached against the word of God. He is even dumber. And people like that is what caused me to put together this lesson by the grace of God that's titled World History Told by the Prophets. World History Told by the Prophets. And for this guy, I wish I could have had somebody tell him, you need to listen to this. You're talking about there ain't no history to back up prophecy. You're going to get so much history today, it's going to run out your ear. And it's all called by prophecy, and it's all in order, sisters and brothers. And we're going to start this in Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Because the Lord put it out here so we would know what's going on, so we would even know when this thing is almost over with. The Lord wants us to know this. And when you get some understanding in his word, you will see that he wants us to know this. We're going to start this in Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Daniel chapter 2, and we're going to start reading at verse 5. 2 and 5. Okay, go ahead.
2 and 1. 2 and 1.
Huh?
And 1.
1, I'm sorry. 2 and 1. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's time so fast, I guess I better stop wishing it was over with. 2 and 1, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And in the 2nd year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams wherewith his spirit was troubled and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king.
So now Nebuchadnezzar, the Lord was showing Nebuchadnezzar the whole Gentile dynasty, all the times of the Gentiles, because the Lord gave every one of Noah's sons an opportunity to run this earth. And the last one he gave the opportunity to is the Gentiles, because those are the people that are called European or simply white folks. So Nebuchadnezzar had this dream, and this dream told the whole story from the beginning of the Gentile dynasty until the end of the reign of the Gentiles. Because the Lord told Israel, that told us Judah, that we're going to be carried into all nations until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. Well, we're going to read about the times of the Gentiles. So he had this dream, and he called in all his smart people that's supposed to have great wisdom and everything to tell him this dream. But go ahead.
And the king said unto them, I have dreamed a dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syriac, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation.
Now they want to know the dream, but Nebuchadnezzar had forgotten the dream. Go ahead.
The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill.
See now, why would he be so severe? Because you got all these people that are living. You know, you got professors and you got so-called doctors, and you got ministers with great big degrees saying that they can answer any question. Now, and they're living good. So when the king asked these people to come through, they couldn't. So, hey, look, if you can't do this here, I'm going to destroy you, and I'm going to make your house an outhouse. So they answered him. Skip down to verse 10 and go ahead.
The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter.
That's mighty presumptuous of him, isn't it? So you get these people talking crazy, like ain't no history to match the Bible. They haven't checked or investigated. So there's not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Go ahead and read.
Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, that there is none other that can show it before the king except the gods whose dwelling is not with flesh.
Well, I don't know about the gods, but I know about the God whose dwelling is not with flesh. Go ahead and read.
For this cause the king was angry and very furious, and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon.
Go ahead.
And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain.
Now look, they didn't call Daniel's Azariah, Hananiah, and Mishael, which is known as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they didn't call them even though they was wise also. Why? Because they look like me. So people that look like me ain't supposed to know nothing. We're not supposed to have no wisdom. But when it got the decree, it went out to kill them, then they'll sure come and kill me. So they went to kill Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But when they got to them, let's see what happened. Skip down to 16 and read it.
Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time and that he would show the king their interpretation.
Now, see, the man came to kill Daniel. Daniel said, why is this so hasty? Then he told him, he said, look, let me in and talk to the king. So he went in there and told the king, look, I can answer your dream and tell you what's going on. Just give me a little time. He didn't say that maybe I can.
That's right.
He said, I can. And that's the positive. So the king had to roll with that because he wanted to know what it is that dream was about. So now, skip down to verse 31. And Daniel's going to tell him about it. Verse 31. Go ahead.
Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible.
Go ahead.
This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass,
Go ahead.
his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay.
Go ahead.
Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet, and that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
So he's telling about this great image he had. And so now, this age, and how this different oils, like it started with gold and all. Down through the generation, there wasn't the nation that this represent wasn't as magnificent as a nation before. But then he saw a stone that was cut out without hand, hit this image on the feet, and broke it. Why the feet? Because we're going to show you the feet are going to be the only thing that's left when the Lord comes. And that stone we're talking about is the Lord. Go ahead and read.
Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together.
Go ahead.
And became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor. And the wind carried them away.
Go ahead.
That no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth.
So this stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. It did not go back to heaven. It filled the whole earth. Go ahead and read.
This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king.
Go ahead.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings.
Go ahead.
For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory.
So now, the king of kings, he's the king, only king. Before him, no other king ruled the entire earth. No other. Go ahead and read.
And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold.
Then he said, and you are this head of gold. Nebuchadnezzar was the first man ever ruled the world. That's why I said, wherever the children of men are, you're over them. Go ahead and read.
And after thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth.
Now the one came after him was the Medo-Persian Empire. And the brass came was the Greek Empire. We're going to point all these out. And they bear rule over all earth. In fact, all of them did. Go ahead and read.
And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise.
Now, this fourth kingdom is the Roman Empire. So I want to see the picture. I want you to see what Nebuchadnezzar saw in his dream, sisters and brothers. Put the picture up right quick. Now, this is what he looked like, and he couldn't remember it. But each one of these represented somebody, sisters and brothers. It represented the head, Babylon Empire, Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and Rome, and the Roman Empire. And they came in that order, sisters and brothers. Nobody, when you go into history, you will see they came in order. Greece didn't come after Babylon. Babylon didn't come after Rome. It came in order Because we're going to show you in the history books. Now let's go into Daniel, the 7th chapter. Let's back up to go over to Daniel, the 7th chapter. Because they came in another form too, sisters and brothers. They came in the form of 4 beasts. Daniel 7, and we're going to start reading at verse 1. Daniel 7 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed.
Now this is Nebuchadnezzar's son now. Daniel's dreamed about this. Go ahead and read.
Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matter.
Go ahead.
Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the 4 winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea, and 4 great beasts came up from the sea.
See, this is why I got the name for the title of the book that the Lord calls me to write. The 4 winds of heaven. He's talking about the 4 nations that rule this earth all by themselves. They say, come up from the sea. Who are the sea? The people. Come up from among men. Go ahead and read.
Diverse one from another. The first was like a lion.
Go ahead.
And had eagle's wings.
Go ahead.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
Now that was the Babylonian Empire. Because the Lord worked with Nebuchadnezzar and made him start praising God himself. That's the first one. Go ahead and read.
And behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear.
Go ahead.
And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh.
Now that's the Medo-Persian Empire, sisters and brothers. So I want to read 2 more verses on this. I had to add this to it. Verse 6, go ahead and read.
After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard,
Go ahead.
which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Go ahead.
The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Now that was the Greek Empire, and we're going to show you why this leopard had 4 heads before the lesson is out. But let's go one more. Go ahead and read.
And this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly.
Go ahead.
And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
Go
and
ahead.
it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Now this was the Roman Empire. That's the worst of all, because Roman just didn't destroy you physically, they destroyed you spiritually. Let's see you put these 4 beasts up there right quick. Now you see them on each side. You had the lion, which is Babylon. You had the bear, which is Medo-Persia. You had the leopard with the 4 heads, which is Greece. And you had the beast with 7 heads, 10 horns, which is Rome, sisters and brothers. Nothing has happened. Nobody, these 4 nations, rule the world all by themselves. But what we're going to do, sisters and brothers, we're going to show you that the Babylonian Empire and the Medo-Persian Empire was not in no war. The Persian inherited the Babylonian Empire by inheritance. Well, the Persian didn't, the Medo-Persian, because the first one that took over after Nebuchadnezzar was the Medes. That's why it's called the Medo-Persian Empire. The Medes nowadays are the Russians, and the Persians nowadays are the Iranians. They're still there, border to border, always been that way. Now let's go and have a look at this. Let's go into Daniel, the 5th chapter. Because the Medo-Persian, when the Babylonian Empire didn't fall by war, it fell by decree of God, and the Median, which are the Medes, inherited the kingdom. We're going to start this in Daniel, the 5th chapter. Daniel chapter 5. And we're going to start reading at verse 1. Daniel 5 and 1. Okay, go ahead.
Belshazzar the king made a great feast to 1,000 of his lords, and drank wine before the 1,000.
Go ahead.
Belshazzar, while he tasted the wine, commanded to bring the golden and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar had taken out of the temple,
Go ahead.
which was in Jerusalem, that the king and his princes, his wives, and his concubines might drink therein.
That's where he made his mistake. It was all ready for him to party and with his concubines and his queens and all the women and dignitaries. But when he went and got the holy vessels that Nebuchadnezzar, his father, had taken out of the temple in Jerusalem, that's where he crossed the line. Go ahead and read.
Then they brought the golden vessels that were taken out of the temple of the house of God, which was at Jerusalem, and the king and his princes, his wives and his concubines drank in them.
Go ahead.
They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and of silver and of brass, of iron, of wood, and of stone.
So in other words, they drank to material things, riches of the world, but not to the God in whose hand their breath is in, sisters and brothers. So while it was doing that, what happened? Go ahead and read.
In the same hour came forth fingers of a man's hand.
Go ahead.
And wrote it over against the candlestick upon the plaster of the wall of the king's palace. And the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king...
Now, all of a sudden, they parted, a hand shows up, poof. And just go on across. I bet it probably started on one side and went all the way across while everybody looked at it. And went over there and wrote on the plaster of the wall. All of a sudden, the king wasn't so, you're right, drunk. You be surprised. You can be real drunk, somebody shoot a pistol, what's going on? So this was the king's pistol. Go ahead and read. What did he do?
Then the king's countenance was changed, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his loins were loose, and his knees smote one against another.
You know, you're scared when your knees knock, don't you? That's how scared the king was. Go ahead and read.
The king cried aloud to bring in the astrologers, the Chaldeans, and the soothsayers. And the king spake and said to the wise men of Babylon, whosoever shall read this writing and show me the interpretation thereof shall be clothed with scarlet and have a chain of gold about his neck and shall be the third ruler in the kingdom.
Now, when he called all of these wise men, he left Daniel and his companions out again. But his mother told him about Daniel. So you got a guy in here that can answer all of that. Why don't you go and tell him? So that's what he did, and Daniel showed up. Skip down to verse 17. He had Daniel's brought before him. Verse 17. Go ahead.
Then Daniel answered and said before the king, let thy gifts be to thyself, and give thy rewards to another.
Go ahead.
Yet I will read the writing unto the king and make known to him the interpretation.
He said, look, you can give your gifts to whoever you want to, and you can promote somebody else. I don't want any of it. However, I'm going to tell you what that handwriting is. Because the man of God is compelled to do that even if he's asked by an enemy. Because when you are a man of God, your job is to spread the word of God. And anybody inquire of it, you got to do it. So now, skip down to verse 25, and he's going to interpret it for him. Verse 25, go ahead.
And this is the writing that was written. Many, many, tekel upharsin.
Go ahead.
This is the interpretation of the thing. Many. God hath numbered thy kingdom and finished it.
He said, now this is interpretation. The Lord done numbered your kingdom, mister, and he done finished it. Go ahead.
Tekel, thou art weighed in the balances and art found wanting.
And he weighed you and you have come up inadequate. So what did he do? Go ahead and read.
Perez, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians.
He didn't say our kingdom will be divided and given. He said our kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persia. But that was quick, real quick. And this is what people don't understand. When the Lord moved, he moved quickly. Thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Let's see how quick it was. Skip down to verse 30. Verse 30. And go ahead.
In that night was
not. He didn't wait a week.
No.
He didn't wait 2 days. In that night, go ahead.
Was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain.
So he had him killed that very night. Some God can move quick when he wants. So he was really upset when they brought them holy vessels out there and started drinking out of them and praising material stuff. That lets you know he was real upset. Yeah. Killed him that very night. Now, what happened to the kingdom? Go ahead and read.
And Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old.
So now, it fell into the hand of the Medians, or the modern-day Russians. So the Medes did not take the Babylonian kingdom down by force. And I understand that because you got other lessons and other prophecies let you know that a whole lot of people is going to take Babylon the Great down, and that would be very confusing. So he inherited the kingdom. History will tell you later that the Persian went to war against Babylon, but it wasn't Babylon then, it was Medes. But look, we're going to start this, sisters and brothers, with the last king of Israel, which was the king of Judah, Zedekiah, and we're going to go from there, from Babylon to the Persian Empire. So we're going to start this with the last king we ever had, which was Zedekiah. Let's go into 2 Chronicles, the 36th chapter. 2 Chronicles, the 36th chapter. Judah ain't never had a king after this. You got a lot of people come up, king, no. When this guy was taken down by Nebuchadnezzar, never had a king since. And we will not have another king until Jesus returns. That's the order of things, sisters and brothers. The Lord has set it up that way, and that's the way it's going to be. 2 Chronicles, chapter 36. That's why you get all these brothers telling me we're going to go back and we're going to set up the kingdom. You ain't going to do nothing but get shot. The Lord have laid this whole thing out. And you're going to see it the way it is, or you ain't going to see it at all. It's all that simple. 2 Chronicles chapter 36, and we're going to start reading at verse 11. 36 and 11. This is the last king we ever had, and he was an evil king. Because the Lord had made a deal with Nebuchadnezzar so he could keep Judah. Even though the 10 tribe was gone, he was going to keep, 9 tribe was gone, he was going to try to take Judah, which was Judah, Levi, and Benjamin, still under the name of Judah, or the kingdom of Judah. He would have had it even to this day if Zedekiah had not been so wicked and rebelled against him. We're going to start this at verse 11, because he didn't know that God brokered this between Nebuchadnezzar. Sometimes the Lord used your enemy to do you good, but you so mad about the enemy and want to be get even until you don't see the good and say, wait a minute, maybe I should just slow down and see where this thing go. Because it look like it's going my way right now. No. Zedekiah didn't see that. Verse 11, go ahead and read.
Zedekiah was 120 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem.
Go ahead.
And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord his God, and humbled not himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of the Lord.
Now, he was very evil, and he wouldn't humble himself before the prophet. Wouldn't listen to nothing that Jeremiah said. Go ahead and read.
And he also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him swear by God.
Go ahead.
But he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart from turning unto the Lord God of Israel.
So now, he even swore by the God of Israel. Nebuchadnezzar made him, because God broke this deal. Other lesson I could show you that. But still, he hardened his heart and sinned against God and wouldn't listen to the prophet. So what happened? Skip down to verse 17. Verse 17 and go ahead.
Therefore he brought upon them the king of the Chaldees.
That was Nebuchadnezzar. He was the king of the Chaldees, the one that he had broken a deal with. Go ahead and read.
Who slew their young men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary.
Go ahead.
And had no compassion upon young man or maiden.
Go ahead.
Old man or him that stooped for age. He gave them all into his hand.
So who is the one that brought Nebuchadnezzar up on him? God then, the God of Israel. They kill old men, they kill young men, they kill babies, they kill young women. Go ahead and read.
And all the vessels of the house of God, great and small, and the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king, and of his princes, all these he brought to Babylon.
So these are the vessels of the house of God that got Belshazzar killed for drinking out of it. His father Nebuchadnezzar, when he took down Judah, he brought all the vessels of the temple down to Babylon. Go ahead and read.
And they burnt the house of God and brake down the wall of Jerusalem and burnt all the palaces thereof with fire and destroyed all the goodly vessels thereof.
I mean, they took it down. Everything. Even the wall system, brother. That's why Ezra and Nehemiah, when they went back, they had to rebuild the wall also. So they destroyed everything. Go ahead.
And them that had escaped from the sword carried he away to Babylon, where they were servants to him and his sons until the reign of the kingdom of Persia.
So now, they served Nebuchadnezzar and Nebuchadnezzar's son until the Persian Empire. Because Darius the Mede did not take Babylon down. Darius the Mede inherited the Babylonian Empire. But then the Persian obviously came against the Medes, even though history called it Babylon. But let's go into volume 2 of World Scope. This is a history book, World Scope volume 2. And we're going to deal with this from Babylon to Cyrus. World Scope volume 2. Okay, read it.
In 722, Assyrian sovereignty was thrown off under the leadership of Baladan II. But 12 years later, Babylonia was again conquered. When the northern neighbor declined, Babylonia regained its power and rose to a height never before attained. Nebuchadnezzar was its greatest king. He reigned from 604 to 561 BC, reconquered lost provinces, rebuilt canals, erected palaces and temples, constructed great aqueducts and lighthouses, and made Babylon the capital once more, the greatest city of the nations.
This is history you read here. Go ahead.
He conquered Jerusalem, carried the king and a large portion of his subjects into captivity, and later destroyed the Jewish capital.
Now, we just read that, didn't we? Go ahead.
To gratify his Median wife and remind her of a mountain home, he built great towers, the hanging gardens, and beautiful parks, and ornamented them with rare trees, grasses, foliage, and flowers. After the death of this mighty king, the empire survived but 24 years when Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar were conquered by Cyrus the Great.
We just read about this Belshazzar, don't we? That bought it, but he wasn't conquered by Cyrus the Great. That's why you know the Bible don't miss a lick. He conquered the Median because the Median had inherited Babylon. So now, he was conquered by Cyrus the Great. Was that the end of that?
It just is a small part. King of Persia in 538, about 2 centuries later in 328, it was made part of the dominion of Alexander the Great.
Now, Persian Empire, it existed until the Greek Empire came along. But let's show you about this Persian. This guy, he said, because it was conquered by Cyrus the Great, right? We're going to look at Cyrus the Great. Let's go into Ezra, the 1st chapter. You should be there already because you was in 2 Chronicles. Because the Lord had Cyrus to do something. That lets you know the Lord can work through anybody. We're going to start at Ezra, chapter 1, and start reading at verse 1. Ezra 1 and 1. This is the Cyrus we just got through reading about in history here. Go ahead and read.
Now, in the 1st year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, the Lord stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all of his kingdom and put it also in writing, saying.
Now, this word that's going to be fulfilled is what the prophet already said, that look, that he's going to rebuild the temple. So now, and said that Judah was going to be in captivity for 70 years. And at the end of the 70 years, then they was going to go back and rebuild the temple. Okay, the 70 years was up. So now Cyrus made this decree that they would go back and build a temple in Jerusalem. Go ahead and read.
Thus said Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord God of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he had charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah.
See, the Lord was working with this Persian king, and he knew where his might come from. He said, the Lord God of heaven gave me this whole world, because that's who he was on top of it. Go ahead and read.
Who is there among you of all his people? His God be with him. And let him go up to Jerusalem, which is in Judah, and build the house of the Lord God of Israel. He is the God which is in Jerusalem.
So he said, now who among you are the Jews that's among us? I want you to go up and rebuild this house of God. Because your God is God. Not only the whole world in Jerusalem, but everywhere. So now, who took him up on this? Skip down to verse 5. Verse 5 and read it.
Then rose up the chief of the fathers of Judah and Benjamin, and the priests and the Levites, with all them whose spirit God had raised, to go up to build the house of the Lord, which is in Jerusalem.
That's why I tell people, ask me, you Hebrew Israelite? Yeah. So what tribe are you out of? I said, I don't know. But I know I'm out of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Why? Because we are the one that was taken out by the Gentiles, the white folks, sisters and brothers. The 9 tribe was taken out by the Assyrians, which really was Ethiopian, black people. And those are the ones that was called the lost tribes of Israel. Not Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi always knew who they were, even when they brought them to the shores here, even on Western Africa. They had a nation that's called the Kingdom of Judah.
Yep.
And when they brought them here, some of our people knew who they were. So Judah, Benjamin, and Levi rose up to do this. Now let's go into Ezra, the 2nd chapter, because we're not going to do a lot of reading on this. We're going to show you how many went back. Ezra chapter 2, and read verse 1, 2 and 1. Okay, read it.
Now these are the children of the province that went up out of captivity of those which had been carried away from Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and carried away unto Babylon, and came again unto Jerusalem and Judah, every one unto his city.
Now, he said every one to his city. He named all of them, but we're not going to get involved in that. We're going to get involved in the amount that went back. Skip down to verse 64. Verse 64. And go ahead.
The whole congregation together was 42,303 scores.
So it was 42,360 went back. Now let's go into history and show what this was recorded. We're going to go into Grolier Encyclopedia, page 380. Grolier Encyclopedia, page volume 3. Grolier volume 3. Page 380. Okay, go read it.
Cyrus the Great, founder of the Persian Empire, son of Cambyses I, ascending the throne of Anshan in 559. Cyrus in 550 overthrew the Median king Astyages in battle, assumed the throne of Media, and established the capital of Ecbatana. He then ruled Assyria, northern Mesopotamia, Syria, Armenia, and Cappadocia. In 547, he conquered Lydia from Croesus and subdued the Greek cities of the Asia Minor coast. As king of the universe, Cyrus proclaimed peace for all. In 537, he permitted 40,000 captive Jews to return to Palestine.
So now, he was a few thousand off? But still, he was the one. Now, Israel, when Judah, they kept better records than the Persians, because it was them, when it said 42,360 went back to Jerusalem. History tell you it's 40,000 went back to Jerusalem, but we know it was 2,360 people more, don't we?
Right, that's right.
But this is no coincidence. This is where it happened. Prophecy called it, and this Cyrus the Greek, the Medo-Persian, Cyrus the Great, fulfilled it, sister and brother. This is letting you know, because the Lord's going to walk this thing right on down so we can see this thing nowadays. So now, they was back. Now let's go into Daniel the 7th chapter, and we're going to start dealing with the Persians now, from the Persian Empire to the Greek Empire. So we just dealt with Babylon and Medo-Persia. So now we're going to go and make the transition. Let's go into Daniel the 7th chapter. And we're going to bring in the Greeks now. Daniel chapter 7. You ever doing that talking out there, I can hear you. If I can hear you, you're talking too loud. Daniel 7, and we're going to read one verse. Verse 6. Daniel 7 and 6. Okay, read it.
After this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl.
Go ahead.
The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Now, this is the Greek Empire. Why did this leopard have 4 heads? Because we're going to show you that it ended up being ruled by 4 different individuals. However, when it come up on the world, it come up on them quick, because Alexander the Great come up almost like a flash, sisters and brothers. Alexander the Great was the king of Greece. His father, which was Philip the barbarian, he was the king of Macedonia. But some people conspired against him and killed him. Then Alexander the Great rose up and killed the people that killed his father, and he put the whole Greek Empire together. And that is when he assaulted the rest of the world. That's verse 6, right? Now let's go to volume. Let's go into World Scope, volume 4, and we're going to find out who knocked off who. Volume 4, World Scope, Encyclopedia, volume 4. Go ahead and read.
Darius III, surnamed Codomanus, the 12th and the last king of Persia. He was a great-grandson of Darius II. His reign began in 336 BC and ended with his death in 330. At the time he ascended the throne, his kingdom was greatly disturbed by the tyranny and luxury of his predecessors and was soon overwhelmed by the advancing opposition of the Macedonians. His army was defeated on the banks of the Granicus in Asia Minor. Soon after, he organized an army of 400,000 to intercept the advance of Alexander the Great in the mountain of Cilicia, but was defeated a second time in the battle near the Issus in 333 BC. When his family fell into the hands of Alexander, he collected another army and met the Macedonians in 331 BC, but was again defeated. Shortly after, Alexander captured Susa, the capital, and made all Persia subject to Greece. Darius was slain as the result of a conspiracy in 330 BC, and with his death, the Persian Empire came to close. His daughter, Satira, became a wife of Alexander.
So Alexander the Great is the one that knocked off the Persian Empire. This is all in order. This is history we're reading, sisters and brothers. Now, Daniel, the prophet Daniel, told you about this great battle that went on between Alexander the Great and Darius III. Let's go into Daniel's, the 8th chapter, and we're going to read about this great battle. Daniel's chapter 8. See, not only, because this is a great war that they had, the Persian didn't go easy. Alexander the Great had to deal with them. But he dealt with them quickly. That's why the leopard had 4 wings. Have fang. He flew over there and jumped the Persian. Verse 8, 8-1. Go ahead and read. Verse 1, 8-1. Go ahead and read.
In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in a vision, and I was by the river of Ulai.
Go ahead.
Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns.
Go ahead.
And the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last.
So now, what is this ram with 2 horns? The horns represent the Medo, the Medes, and the Persians, the Medo-Persian Empire. See, the Medes did such little that they were not mentioned too much. But all history talk about Persia. So the first horn was the Mede, short horn, but the Persian horn was higher than the Median Persian. But this ram represents the Medo-Persian Empire. But go ahead and read.
I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him. Neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great.
Didn't he call himself, Cyrus called himself the king of the universe? Couldn't nobody stand because he ruled it all. Until Alexander the Great time. Go ahead and read.
And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth and touched not the ground.
That means he came quickly. Go ahead.
And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power.
Now, that's when Alexander the Great attacked the Persia. Go ahead and read.
And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand.
Because Alexander the Great is taking down the world ruler. Go ahead and read.
Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven.
Now, so when Alexander the Great waxed real great, he died. He was still young. Alexander the Great was in his 30s. He died. And he had nobody, no blood relative that was in a position or strong enough to maintain the kingdom. So it was taken over by his generals. Now let's go into history now. What verse was that?
We have verse 8. We got to go to.
At verse what?
We just finished verse 8.
Okay, skip down to verse 15. Verse 15 and go ahead.
And it came to pass, when I, even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man.
Go ahead.
And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Uli, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision.
That's the Lord sending Gabriel. He is the messenger of God. He's the one that sends messages. Because he's the one that told that Jesus was going to be born. So make this man understand the vision. Go ahead and read.
So he came near where I stood, when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face.
Now, go ahead.
But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for at the time of the end shall be the vision.
So this is end time prophecy here. I want you to understand this. Skip down to verse 20 and go ahead.
The ram which thou sawest having 2 horns are the kings of Media and Persia.
Go ahead.
And the rough goat is the king of Grecia. And the great horn that is between his eyes is the first king.
Now you can go and check that out in history. The first king of United Greece was Alexander the Great. Right. Go ahead and read.
Now that being broken, whereas 4 stood up for it, 4 kingdoms shall stand up out of the nation, but not in his power.
That's why it ended up with the leopard with 4 heads, because the leopard represented the Greek Empire also. So when it broke up, that means that Alexander died at a young age, his generals started to fight over the kingdom. Now let's go and look at this. What verse was that?
We just finished 22.
Now let's go into Grolier, Encyclopedia, Volume 5, page 76. Grolier, Encyclopedia, Volume 5, page 76. This is going to confirm what we just got through reading. Alexander the Great knocked off the Medo-Persian Empire, and while he was young, in his 30s, all of a sudden he just died. They didn't say what he died from, but he just died. And we're going to see who took over after his death. Go ahead and read.
Alexander the Great. Before his death 13 years later, Alexander made an impact on world history and men's imaginations rarely equaled before or since.
I don't know about the young people, but when I was in school, they taught about Alexander the Great. He made a great impact on the world. Go ahead and read.
But on the brink of further expeditions, Alexander died suddenly in 323 BC.
I mean, suddenly. He was in his 30s, just died. But go ahead and read.
Hellenistic age. Shock, disbelief, and confusion followed Alexander's death. The political history of the next 2 centuries is a complex web of alliances, intrigues, and wars among his various successors, the Diadochi, and their heirs and rivals. A revolt of nearly all mainland Greece was suppressed by Antipater, the Macedonian governor, and the instigators, including Demosthenes, were sentenced to death.
Go ahead.
Ptolemy, the governor of Egypt, kept control there. Before the end of the century, Cassander had established himself as king in Macedonia.
Now, these are the four horns now. Ptolemy, he was over England. Then who was the next one? Over Egypt. Who was the next one?
Cassander.
Cassandra, he was over where?
had established themselves as king in Macedonia.
Go ahead.
Seleucus in Syria, and Lysimachus.
That's the third one. He took over Syria. These are Alexander the Great's generals here. Go ahead and read.
And Lysimachus in Western and Central Asia Minor.
And so here they are, the four generals that took over, sisters and brothers. Ptolemy, Cassandra, Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Lysimachus, and who was the other one?
It was Ptolemy, Cassander, Seleucus, and Lysimachus.
And that's all four. That's why the leopard had four heads, because these guys took over the Greek Empire. Did you finish that?
Just a few
Finish it.
The more remote eastern areas failed to recognize Greek rule almost from the first.
Now, let's go into Grolia Encyclopedia, Volume 2, page 496. We're going to talk about these guys and let you know that these are the ones that ran this. Go ahead.
Give me a second.
Volume 2, page 496.
Cassander.
This is the Grolia Encyclopedia. Go ahead.
Cassander, Macedonian general, son of Antipater. After Alexander's death, Cassander seized Macedonia in 316, killing Alexander's mother, Olympias, that year, and in 311, murdering Alexander's widow and heir. He assumed the title king in 306 to prevent Antigonus from reuniting the empire. Cassander joined Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Seleucus in war against Antigonus, defeating him at Isthmus in 301.
So now, these four guys that took over the Greek Empire, Alexander the Great, after Alexander the Great's death, Cassandra, Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Lysimachus. You know, like I see a lot of people look at this queen of Egypt. What's her name? Cleopatra. Cleopatra was not an Egyptian, neither was she black. She was a Greek. Alexander the Great's daughter, and then they started to use Cleopatra as a title, but they was all Greeks, Gentiles. But the history lets you know that after Alexander the Great died, his four generals, after they got through fighting, they took over the Greek Empire. And it was divided into four parts. Let's go into Daniel, the 11th chapter. Daniel chapter 11. This is history, sisters and brothers, at its best. This is recording it the way it happened. But the prophets called it first. All that happened with this Gentile dynasty, it was told by the prophets before one piece of it took place. Daniel 11 and verse 4. Daniel chapter 11, and we're going to start at verse 1, rather. Daniel 11 and 1. 11 and 1. Okay, read it.
Also I, in the first year of Darius the Mede, even I, stood to confirm and to strengthen him. And now will I show thee the truth. Behold, there shall stand up yet 3 kings in Persia, and the fourth shall be far richer than they all. And by his strength, through his riches, he shall stir up all against the realm of Greece.
He should have left Greece alone, shouldn't he? But go ahead.
And a mighty king shall stand up and shall rule with great dominion and do according to his will.
Now, who is that mighty king? Alexander the Great. Go ahead and read.
And when he shall stand up, his kingdom shall be broken and shall be divided toward the 4 winds of heaven, and not to his posterity, nor according to his dominion which he ruled.
Now, that's like what he said. We just read. When Alexander the Great died, his 4 generals took over. We named them, didn't we? But then, they was not able to maintain it. Go ahead and read.
For his kingdom shall be plucked up even for others beside those.
Then when it's going to be plucked up even for others, who are the others? The Roman Empire. They was in the western part of the kingdom, which was started in Italy, sisters and brothers. The people of the peninsula, because Italy means peninsula. Now let's go in Daniel's 7th chapter and read about it. This 4th beast that's going to come on the scene, which is the Roman Empire. Most people don't understand that the Roman Empire started in Italy. That's where it started. And then consumed the whole world because he knocked off the Greeks, which was in charge of the whole world. So when you knock off the one that's in charge of the whole world, that puts you in charge of the whole world. Daniel 7, we're going to read one verse, verse 7. Go ahead.
After this I saw the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Now, this beast was the Roman Empire. It was different from all the other ones because not only did the Roman Empire, the Romans destroy you physically, the Romans handed you a religion that we are still dealing with, what they call Christianity nowadays. That's why he said it was diverse from all the kingdom before him. Go ahead and read. That's the end of the verse? Yeah. Well, let's look at Rome then. Because Rome had 10 horns, this beast. What do it mean, these 10 horns? Because Rome was to rise and fall 10 times, sisters and brothers. And we're looking at the 10th one right now in Western Europe. So let's go in the World Scope, Volume 5. And we're going to look at this. How that the Romans captured the Greeks, knocked off the Greeks. Volume 5, go ahead.
Greece attained its height of prosperity and military power under Alexander the Great. Alexander defeated Darius III, overthrew the Persian Empire, annexed large parts of Asia and Africa, and among other cities, founded Alexandria. The brief reign of Alexander was followed by internal dissensions and rivalries among the city-states, which formed alliances and leagues in favor of hostile to Macedonian supremacy. In 279 BC, an invasion of Gauls occurred. The nation was then threatened by the states that rose in the west. And after the capture of Corinth in 146 BC, all of Greece became a Roman province.
Well, that was the state of the west, the Roman provinces. So all of Greece, the Romans knocked over and became a Roman province. Was that the end of it?
Under Roman rule, a period of peace and prosperity prevailed, but Greek political power was eclipsed.
So now, the Romans is in charge of the world. But then, this beast, the Roman beast, had 10 horns, sisters and brothers. But 3 of them horns was plucked up by the roots. Let's go and look at this. Let's go into Daniel, the 7th chapter, and we're going to read verse 8. Daniel 7 and verse 8. Because once the Greek came, so this Greek empire is similar. The 10 horns was a symbolism, symbolized 10 men that were going to try to restore the Roman Empire after the Roman Empire had fallen. Verse 8, go ahead.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things.
This horn represents the Pope of Rome, sisters and brothers. They had 3 plucked up by the root. That's because they wouldn't go with him. And when you pluck something up by the root, then that means you don't have any left. And the nations that we're going to talk about, they are not in existence no more. Those are the Huruli, the Ostrogoths, and the Vandals. Do you see a country named Huruli? Is there a nation named Vandals? And you hear about the Goths, you understand? But the Ostrogoths, But they're a Germanic tribe. They come out of, that's what German came out of. But you don't hear no nation that's called Huruli, Vandals, or the Ostrogoths. Why? Because they was plucked up by the roots. Now let's go into the history book called the Italian People. Italian People, page 63. We're going to see how these was plucked up. Page 63. Go ahead and read.
Barbarian rulers. After 455, what central government remained in Italy was for 80 years in the hands of leaders of German mercenary troops or of Germanic tribes that settled in the country and lived exploiting the docile, servile Christian Roman population.
See, because these Germanic tribes, when Rome fell the first time, they started running. But did you finish that?
No.
When you finish that, go directly to 64 and 65. Go ahead.
The Vandal Gesseric remained in Italy only a short time. The Suevian Richmer appointed the dismissed emperor of the empire in the west for 16 years. And the year 476 is generally accepted as marking the end of Roman state in Italy.
Now, that's the last time they had a Roman general. His name was Romulus Augustus. But go ahead. Now, you want to go on page 64?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Odoacer governed Italy nominally as a representative of the Roman emperor in the east. In reality, he acted as an independent ruler and inefficiently. In 488, the Ostrogoths, authorized since around 450 by the government in Constantinople.
Now, the government in Constantinople was a Roman country. And so they was using the Ostrogoths at first. And what happened? Go ahead.
To settle on the right bank of the middle Danube, were led into Italy by their leader, King Theodoric II. Besieged in Ravenna, Odoacer surrendered and was assassinated in 493. The Herulaeans were never heard of again.
So the Ostrogoths, commissioned by the Romans, knocked off the Herulaeans. And they was never heard of again. Was that the end of that?
That was the end of two.
So you got
Justinian.
Go ahead.
In 535, the Roman emperor in the east, the able Justinian, bent on reestablishing the unity of the empire, sent an expeditionary force to Italy. In his eyes, as in the eyes of all native Italians, Italy was still very much an integral part of the Roman state. Surprised initially by the attack, the Goths soon rallied behind their leaders. While most Italians looked on, a ferocious war was fought for nearly 2 decades between the armies of the Gothic kings and those of the legitimate ruler, the emperor. Finally defeated, the Ostrogoths disappeared from the pages of history.
Now, that's 2 horns plucked up by the root. Ostrogoths represent the Roman Empire. They sent them down. They knocked off the Heruli. Then they sent a real Roman general down there and knocked off the Ostrogoths. Now you got 1 remaining. We're going to go to Wordscope, Encyclopedia, volume 11. Because they sent Justinian to knock off the Goths, and this Justinian is not through yet. Volume 11.
Give me a second.
Okay, read it.
Vandals, a collective term used by early warriors to refer to some of the ancient Teutonic tribes. According to the Byzantine Greek historian Procopius, they originally occupied the region near the Sea of Azov. In 406 AD, they allied themselves with several other Germanic tribes and invaded Gaul. But as they could not withstand the superior forces of the Franks, they crossed the Pyrenees and into Spain with their king, Gonderic, and settled in 2 regions, Vandalacia and Galatia. In 428 or 429, however, the entire nation, numbering some 80,000, crossed the Straits of Gibraltar to Africa, where the Vandal king Gesseric conquered all of Roman Africa with the exception of 3 cities, Carthage, Hippo, and Cirta.
Because Rome was in charge of Africa. So they walked and they conquered it and they ruled it. But what happened?
At the conclusion of a short truce between Gesseric and the emperor Valentinian III, the latter retained only the important consular province of Carthage, and in 439, Gesseric captured Carthage. Hilderic, the son of Huneric, and Eudocia, widow of Valentinian III, was a timid, unpopular king, a Catholic who restored the Catholic churches in Africa, and was finally dethroned and murdered.
So now when they murdered the head of the Catholic Church in Africa, what happened? Go ahead.
This persecution of a Catholic provided an excellent excuse for the Greek emperor Justinian to send an army against the Vandals. The Byzantine general Belisarius conquered the Vandals in 533, and the Vandal king Gelimer was paraded through the streets of Constantinople in 534. After 536, the Vandals no longer figure as a nation in history.
So now, those are the 3 that was plucked up by the roots, by Rome, at the behest of the church. Heruli, Vandals, and the Ostrogoths. That's why I said no longer figured in history or geography. You don't see no country with those names, sisters and brothers. So now that left 10. 3 was plucked up, and that left 7 rather. Now we're going to run these 7 down. Let's go into Romans, the 17th chapter. Revelation, rather, the 17th chapter. Revelation chapter 17. Because 3 of them are gone now. Because they saw that beast with 10 horns, that Romans with 10 horns. Now 3 gone and you got 7 left. Revelation 17th chapter. This prophecy is backed up by history. 17 and 1, or 10 rather. Revelation 17, and we're going to start reading at verse 10. 17 and 10. Okay, read it.
And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come.
So we see that the Roman Empire was supposed to rise and fall 10 times. 3 of them was knocked off by the little horn with eyes, which represent the Pope. Now there's 7 left. There's 7 kings. It said what? 5 are fallen.
And 1 is.
And 1 is.
And the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space.
Now we're going to let you know that 5 had fallen and 1 is, sisters and brothers. We can't go and deal with all of them, because if you did, we'd have you here for another 3 hours. However, all of this stuff that we're dealing with now, and all of the kings that we're going to mention now, you have in the book, The 4 Winds of Heaven, tell you who they are and when they was knocked off and by whom they was knocked off. So now, he said, what was that, verse 11? Did you read it?
Oh, 10, 11.
Huh?
And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7th, and goeth into perdition.
So now, the 7 kings that was left, it was Justinian, 1, Charlemagne, 2, Otto the Great, 3, Charles V, 4, and Napoleon Bonaparte, 5, and the last one was Benito Mussolini, 6. That's the 1 is. And we had 1 to come. This is what people don't understand. 5 are fallen, 1 is. That was Mussolini. And we're going to show you how we identified these, because all of them had the same dream, sisters and brothers. Now let's go into history book again. The last 2 million years, page 123. Because all of them tried to restore the Roman Empire after it fell under the rule of Romulus Augustus. What is that, 4 what?
We have page 123, the golden age of Justinian.
Right. But anyway, he was the last one. So now here come these guys, all 7 want to restore the Holy Roman Empire. All of them. Now let's go into 2 million years, page 123. Okay, read it.
The golden age of Justinian, one of the greatest of the Byzantine emperors, came to the throne in 527. He was Justinian I, whose 38-year reign was distinguished by 3 major achievements.
Now see, this Justinian, he's the one that knocked off the Ostrogoths and the Vandals. So what he wanted to do, he wanted to set this thing back up. Go ahead.
He reconquered much of the old Western Empire, he modernized Roman law, and he built hundreds of churches, including the magnificent Hagia Sophia, the Church of Holy Wisdom in Constantinople.
Why did he build all them churches? Because it's the Holy Roman Empire now. Because the Pope had crowned him. Go ahead.
He devoted his long reign to trying to recreate the old Roman Empire as it was when it dominated the Mediterranean throughout the centuries before the barbarian invasions. He succeeded in driving the Vandals from Africa and the Ostrogoths from Italy.
Was that it?
Yep.
So Justinian, he tried to restore the Holy Roman Empire, as did all of the ones that came after him. They had one thing in mind, and that was to restore the Holy Roman Empire. Justinian tried it, he failed. Charlemagne tried it, he failed. Otto the Great tried it, he failed. Charles V tried it, he failed. And believe it or not, Mussolini tried it, and he failed. let's go into last 2 million years again, and we're going to look at Mussolini and see what his desire was. Last 2 million years. Page 409. See, people talk about Hitler. Yeah, Hitler did what he did, but Mussolini was the man. Hitler used to try and get an audience with Mussolini. But Mussolini was the man. And he was the horn, one of the horns that was supposed to restore, that wanted to restore the Holy Roman Empire. That's why it said 5 are fallen, 1 is, and 1 is not, it's yet to come. The 1 is was Benito Mussolini. Okay, read it.
Benito Mussolini launched his anti-communist movement, the Fascist Party, which took its name from the ancient Roman emblem of the fasces, a tightly bound bundle of rods with an axe in the middle, symbolizing authority and unity. The Duce had grandiose ambitions of reviving the glories of ancient Rome and making the Italian race again a conquering, militaristic people.
See, now, people didn't know that about Mussolini. He wanted to restore the Holy Roman Empire and rule just like Rome had ruled before it fell under Romulus Augustus. Did you finish that?
No.
Finish it.
Mussolini's ruthless conquest of territory in Africa was part of his attempt to bring back the glory of imperial Rome.
That was his desire. See, people didn't know that about Mussolini. Prophets had talked about him. He was the horn that was at that time. Now Mussolini is gone. So the one is to come. I am sure that this guy is living this day. That's going to restore the Holy Roman Empire. But he's going to come. It's not going to come in the name of the Holy Roman Empire. It's going to come in the name of the European Union. That's why they don't want to knock off Russia like it got in one of the Catholic catechism. Pray for Russia. They want to unite the whole world under the Roman Empire again, sisters and brothers. And it's called, and that was the European Union is what it's called right now. Now let's go back to Revelation, the 13th chapter, and look at it at the resurrection of this empire. Revelation, the 13th chapter. See, this is what people don't understand. All of this is called by prophecy. Every bit of the Gentile behavior, the wars and everything, the prophets told us about it. This ain't no big mystery, sisters and brothers. That's why when you understand prophecy and understand what we're dealing with now, you can almost put your hand on what time it is. In fact, I know what time it is. I'm just waiting. Revelation 13, and let's start at verse 1. So this is the resurrection of it, the last time here. Go ahead and read.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast rise up out of the sea.
Go ahead.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns 10 crowns.
Go ahead.
And upon his heads the name of blasphemy.
Now, these 10 horns are not going to be plucked off. This horn here is what's raised up. Because look what it said, having 7 heads and 10 horns. What are the 7 heads? Babylonia, Medo-Persia. Greeks had 4 horns, and Rome had 4 heads, and Rome had what? 1 head. So how does that make that? 7 heads. They come out of the Gentile dynasty. Go ahead and read.
And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear.
Go ahead.
And his mouth was as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority.
So this is a composite of all of the beasts that we read about to make up this empire. And where did he get his power from? Satan the devil. So any religion come out of that organization, it's from Satan the devil. Go ahead and read.
And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast.
Now, this 10th horn, the one that is to come, is going to heal this Roman Empire, which is also called Babylon the Great. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they don't know it, they're doing it now. Christmas coming up soon. How much of the world is going to have Christmas trees? Because this is put forth by the religious part of it. What verse are we?
We have verse 4.
Go ahead and read.
And they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast.
So if you're going to worship the beast, you're going to worship the dragon too. Right. Go ahead.
And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months.
That's 3.5 years. And that starts when they build that temple, and it starts when the Pope leave Rome and set up in the temple that's going to be built in Jerusalem. That begins the 42 months of the 3.5 years. You see, the Lord is bringing this thing right on down to the end. So who can make war with it? We got history to show you that these 10 are going to control 31 European armies. That's a whole lot of soldiers, ain't it? Go ahead. What verse was that?
That was verse 5.
Now skip down to verse 11, because we want to show you something here. Verse 11, go ahead.
And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon.
So this was not another country rising up. This was the leadership of the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. It had a religious leader, and it had a temporal leader, which either was a military man or a political man. These 2 guys are going to lead this European Union. One is called the beast, and the other one is called the false prophet. Now let's go into 17th chapter of Revelation. 17th chapter of Revelation. And we're going to read 1, then we're going to 1 to 3. Well, let's read right on to 1 to 5. Verse 1, go ahead and read.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
Now that's the religious part, the great whore that sits upon the many waters. I'm going to show you the judgment of her. Go ahead and read.
With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
So now, this religion came with the nation, sisters and brothers. And the woman is riding the beast. That means the woman is controlling it. I don't know if none of the old-timers will remember, but I remember when John F. Kennedy was running for president. You notice one of the biggest fears that they talked about? Kennedy was Catholic, and they feared that the Pope was going to run America. I remember that. Anybody else, hold your hand up. I see. See? They actually thought that, look here, just like the Pope running Western Europe, they're going to run America. See? So now, because this beast, the woman was riding this beast with 7 heads and 10 horns. What verse are we?
We have verse 4.
Go ahead.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
She is rich, and that stuff in that golden cup is false religion. Go ahead and read.
And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
Now what's the big mystery here? The mystery is that it is still the world that Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonian reign. The first man and the first Gentile to rule the entire planet, and it was passed off from Gentile to Gentile to Gentile. You notice that statue didn't have no break in it, didn't it? One set of people, which was the children of Japhet, or Japhet as some people call, the white folks. So he behaved, what was written? The mother of harlot. Now the religious part of her is the one that you got all the other religions, most of the religions in the West out of. That's why she called herself the Mother Church. This is the Catholic Church. That's why when you tell people, are you a Catholic? I say, what are you? I'm Baptist. Oh, you're a Catholic. What are you? I'm Methodist. Oh, you're a Catholic. What are you? I'm Episcopal. Oh, you're a Catholic. I'm Lutheran. Oh, you're a Catholic. Well, I ain't no Catholic. Yeah, you are. Because I'm going to wait until the 25th day, which is Monday, and I'm going to walk right in there, and that tree going to be sitting in your living room. As the mother is, so are the daughters. Martin Luther didn't protest against the doctrine. He protested against the Pope saying he was infallible. So he left. That's where Protestant come from. People that call themselves a Protestant and don't even know where that came from. It came from when Martin Luther protested the infallibility of the Pope. But he brought all the tradition with him. Easter, Christmas, going to heaven, first day of the week, the Christian Sabbath day, and so on and so on. But skip down to verse 9, and it's going to give you something that is valuable. Verse 9, go ahead and read.
And here's the mind which hath wisdom.
And here is the mind which hath wisdom. Go ahead.
The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
Now, he gave you a geographical location, sisters and brothers. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. So we're going to find a geographical location. All we got to do is find the nation that's built on 7 hills or 7 mountains. We just found where the headquarters of the Catholic Church is. So we're going to investigate. Let's go into the book, The Italian People, page 28 and page 31. Okay, read it.
Servius Tullius, in the 6th century BC, was the Roman Solon, and he introduced the classification of citizens for military and electoral purposes, very similar to that attributed to Solon in Athens in 594. According to legend, he built the walls encircling Rome's 7 hills.
Ain't that something? He built the walls encircling Rome's 7 hills. Page 31. Go ahead.
Romans were now confident in their own strength when, after over 30 years of nearly continual fighting, this round of wars ended. The small independent townships centered on the 7 hills had become a state embracing most of what is today's Latium and parts of Umbria.
So now Rome was built on 7 hills, Italy. So where's the headquarters where's Vatican City at? In Italy. Ain't no coincidence. The Lord just showed you where it's going to be. And all this was before it had taken place. Mm-hmm. That's why all of these 7 guys that restored trying to restore the Roman Empire, they had to make a deal with the Pope. Don't you know that Vatican City was not there before Mussolini? Mussolini is the horn of the Roman Empire that had to make a deal with the Pope. What's that? Give him his own little nation, sovereign state inside a sovereign state, and call it Vatican City. Investigate it. Mussolini did that. Because every one of them horns that tried to restore had to make a deal with the Pope. The 3 that didn't make the deal, he got them plucked up by the root. Y'all understand? So now, right now, to show you that because the Catholic Church has always been interwoven with the Europeans. Let's go into Gloria Encyclopedia, volume 4, page 226. And let's see what it says here. Go ahead.
Much of the history of the Christian church is interwoven with the history of Europe.
Hey, did y'all hear that? Much of the history of the Catholic Church is interwoven with the history of Europe. Why? Because the woman rode to peace. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Elaboration of this subject can be found in such articles as Christianity, Roman Catholic Church, Papacy, Reformation, and Protestantism. The influence of religion on civilization is evident in several articles on art, architecture, and music, for example.
So the church has always been involved and actually ran Europe, sisters and brothers. Now let's go now to Revelation 17 chapter. Back up to Revelation 17 chapter. And we're going to start reading at verse 12. Revelation 17 and verse 12. See, this is what the world don't know. Europe has always been governed by the Catholic Church. That's why they got the Willis when John Kennedy wanted to run for president. People that knew about the European history knew that if you were Catholic, the Pope was your boss. I don't care what position you held. We got other history to show you. 17 and 12, Revelation 17 and verse 12, because it told you the location of the woman where she sitteth. That is where the headquarters of the Catholic religion is. Verse 12, go ahead.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings.
And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, go ahead.
Which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast.
So now, when John wrote this, these 10 wasn't in existence. These are the 10 that make up the European Union right now, that's going to run all of Western Europe. And you know, most things I see literatures written by Gentile writers, they always lose 3 of them horns. They can't get 10 down to the last day. That's because they don't read the book. That's they're going to give, but these 10 are going to give their power to one man that's called the beast. Go ahead and read.
These have one mind.
They have one mind. That's why I knew that England couldn't remain a part of the European Union. Why? Because all of the people in the nation in the European Union are Catholic, and England called itself Protestant. And they broke away from the church. So now, that means that they didn't have one mind. After teaching for 40 years, telling people, finally, England pulled out. But go ahead.
These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast.
Go ahead.
They
have one mind, they're going to give their power and strength to the beast? Well, let's look at this, sisters and brothers. What verse is that, 13?
13.
Let's go into Volia Encyclopedia. Because they also, with these 10, they all have to sign a treaty, sisters and brothers. And let's find out what that treaty is that all of these nations that are in the European Union had to sign. And let you know that these guys are going to be around when the Lord comes. In Grolia Encyclopedia, Volume 4, page 227. 227. Okay, read it.
European Common Market. The European Common Market grew out of the powerful movement in Western Europe after World War II. To bring together the often warring nations into some system of peaceful cooperation.
Go ahead.
The purpose was not only to avoid war and to bind West Germany permanently into the Western family, but also to reassert Europe's strength and influence in the world.
Well, they're still trying to bring that Roman Empire back. Go ahead.
The first fruit of the movement was the European Coal and Steel Community, begun in 1952.
Go ahead.
After the projected European Defense Community failed in 1954, the movement revived with the signing in 1957 of the Treaty of Rome.
The Treaty of what?
Of Rome.
Because they're still trying to restore Rome. Don't you know that's what they're trying to do now? Even today? Why are they trying to do it? Because God said they're going to rise and fall 10 times. The night went down with Mussolini. Now the 10th one is whoever the head of the European Union. I used to think it was, I forgot his name now. But anyway, we don't know who he is, but I know he's living. That's going to be a part of it. Where are we now?
We're in the middle of Grolia, Volume 4.
Go ahead.
Treaty of Rome, establishing the common market. Members of the common market, France, West Germany, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg are the same as those of the coal and steel community.
Now that's what at that time, but some more have been added. So what we're going to do is we are going to read some clippings here. We got a couple of clippings here I want you to read and show you what's going on in Western Europe now. Give it a heading and read the stuff that I got marked up. Go ahead.
Decision of the Council of the Western European Union on the residual rights and obligations of the WEU. Considering that Belgium, France, Germany, Greece, Italy, Luxembourg, the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom agreed that they shall, under an international law, be jointly liable for fulfilling the residual administrative obligations of the WEU, and that to this extent, they will assume jointly the rights and obligations of the WEU. Belgium, France, Greece, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands, Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom, hereinafter called the 10.
The 10. That's the 10 nations that's going to get their power to one man in Western Europe. And you gave it a name of them. But one that's out is England. But we're going to show you they got to be 10. Can't be no more. Can't be one less. But keep reading.
Recognize that they will be jointly responsible, including financially, to the extent of the key governing mandatory contributions to the WEU vis-a-vis the European Union Satellite Center with respect to the WEU residual administrative obligations specified in paragraph 1 of this decision, particularly in view of Article 40 of the WEU pension rules.
Now,
go down.
Go down, read it.
Any decisions regarding residual administrative activities identified in paragraph 1 of this decision shall be taken unanimously by the Board of European Union Satellite Center, considering of one representative appointed by each of the 10.
Now, that lets you know that it's still the 10, even though you got more than 10 nations in the Western Europe, but these 10 are going to run it. And they're going to get their power to the beast. Was that the end of that? Finish it.
The 10 shall each appoint a representative and deputy to the board.
Now, look. The United Kingdom dropped out and left 9. But I had forgotten that there was already 2 in the back, in the wings, waiting. So they're going to pick from one of them. I don't know which one it is, but I want you to know that it's here. Now, this is from a newspaper, Kippen. What was that paper?
May 19th, 1993.
May 19th, 1993.
It's called Dane Switch Approve European Union Treaty.
You done heard of the Danish, right? So they had to come together, and they was approved to be a part of the European Union. But they couldn't do it because it had to be 10. Skip down and see what it says here.
The accord allows the nations to review plans for a common defense policy in 1996, with the possibility of turning the Western European Union, a security group, into the Union's defense arm. 10 nations already belong to the Western European Union. Only Denmark and neutral Ireland are outside.
And one of them is going to replace the United Kingdom. But they couldn't come in, sisters and brothers, because prophecy cannot be broken. See, the Lord is the one that's going to bring his prophecy to pass. And there ain't nothing man can do to change it. So now England drop it out, either a part of Ireland or either Denmark is going to be in. And one of the two is going to be chosen, but you still going to have the 10. And these 10 are going to give their power to one person. Now let's go back to Revelation 17 chapter. And show you how long they're going to be around. Revelation chapter 17, and we're going to read verse 14. 17 and 14. Okay, read it.
These shall make war with the Lamb.
Whoa, who is the Lamb?
Jesus.
That means that they're going to be around when Jesus comes, sisters and brothers. That's why I know we're right at the door. They're going to make war with the Lamb. Go ahead and read.
And the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful.
Those are the people that's going to be in the first resurrection. We're looking at this. We're at the door, sisters and brothers. Now let's go into Revelation, the 19th chapter, and bring the Lord. Revelation chapter 19, and we're going to start reading at verse 11. See, people think this is a joke. This is no joke. This thing is for real. Verse 11, go ahead.
And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True.
Go ahead.
And in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself.
Now this is Jesus coming. Symbolic for white horse. He's coming. And he say, judge and make war. See, they don't teach you about Jesus making war in the churches. And he come, and he didn't have a vesture dipped in blood. Go ahead and read.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood.
That means that's the blood of men. He's going to kill so many. Go ahead and read.
And his name is called the Word of God.
That's what it said in John, the 1st chapter. In the beginning was the Word, The Word was with God, and the Word was
That's
God.
right.
This is Jesus here. Go ahead and read.
And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean.
The armies in heaven are the angels, sisters and brothers. He's going to come with his angel, and when he started descent, the people in the first resurrection going to meet him. And you get all of these immortals coming, and this man is stupid enough to go to war. Skip down to verse 19. That lets you know that this man don't know what's going on. The last thing you want to do is go to war with these people. Verse 19, go ahead and read.
And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth
Go ahead.
and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army.
Listen, look, that lets you know. They're going to fool these people with all these weird TV programs about the Martians are coming. Only this time, these ain't no Martian. So the beast, that's the one that's going to be the head of the European Union. And the kings on earth. That means all of them go, this is World War III. This is the last big war. Oh, you're going to have 2 more little attempts later on after the Lord is back. And they made war with him that sat on the horse in his arm. What verse are we?
We have verse 20.
Go ahead and read it.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone.
See now this pope and this political or either military man, God not even going to let them stand in judgment like the rest of the people. He's going to throw them directly in the lake of fire on his way down. That means that they know better. God will not punish the innocent. So he's going to throw them right in the lake of fire. They're not even going to be brought up in judgment day. Because once you go in the lake of fire, that's it. Ain't no coming out. Go ahead and read.
And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh.
Listen, the remnant doesn't mean he killed everybody in that army. Everybody. He showed that when Moab, Ammon, and Edom came against Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. God told him, go on down there and sing. This battle is not yours. This battle is mine. And they killed everyone. Didn't one person walk out of there alive. That's what's going to happen. That's what I tell young men. When you see Papa, if you're in anybody's military, Israel, and you see the temple built, go AWOL. Because that's better than going to the grave by the hand of the Lord.
Right.
Because he said he's going to kill them all. So now, and the rest of them was killed with the sword that proceeded out of his mouth. Did you finish that?
Yes.
You know what the sword is? We show you that's the word of God, ain't it? So he's going to tell the angels and the people in the first resurrection, kill them all. And he's going to kill them all. Oh, that's simple, sisters and brothers. Now let's go into Daniel's 7th chapter. Because Daniel's talk about this same thing. Daniel 7. That's why I listen to people talking about this is Bible is fake and ain't no history that backs up the Bible. I just look at him and say, this boy is just dumb. Obviously, he haven't done no research. If he had, that word wouldn't come out of his mouth. Ain't no history to back up the Bible. We just read a lot of it, didn't we? And it's all in order. The nations came in order. The rulers came in order. And everything happened according to what was prophesied. Daniel 7 and verse 11. 7 and 11. Okay, go ahead.
I beheld them because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake.
That's the Pope, then turn everybody against God. Go ahead and read.
I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame.
But we know who was given to the burning flame, don't we? We read it, didn't it? The beast and the false prophet. Go ahead and read.
As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away. yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time.
That wasn't the army. Those was the nations. Okay? Go ahead and read.
I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him.
That's the coming of Jesus. This is the kingdom that the Father is going to give him. Go ahead and read.
And there was given him dominion and glory, and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed.
That means it said a stone that hit this image on the foot, it said grew and became a mountain and filled the entire earth, didn't it? He's not going to come and steal him a handful of people off this earth and go back to heaven. He's going to rule this whole earth. And his kingdom ain't nobody going to be able to destroy. Go ahead and read.
I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit, in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me.
Go ahead.
I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of the things.
He wanted to know, what is this I've been looking at? So he told me. Go ahead and read.
These great beasts, which are four kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
Now we know that there are 4 kingdoms and not kings. 4 kingdoms. Who? Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. Because this is not going to be over with until the times of the Gentiles is over with. And who are running it? The Gentiles. Who are the Gentiles? The white folks. They run Africa and everywhere else. Go ahead and read.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
So if the saints of the Most High are going to take the same kingdom, then what kingdom are they going to take? The one on this earth here. Go ahead and read.
Then I would know the truth of the 4th beast, which was diverse from all the others.
Go ahead.
Exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron and his nails of brass, which devoured, break in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet.
He said, I want to know about this last beast, because this guy is terrible. So skip now to verse 23. Verse 23 and go ahead.
Thus he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces.
I mean, it did. That Roman Empire God gave you religion and everything. Go ahead and read.
And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings.
We read about that, didn't we? Go ahead.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws.
He did that in the beginning, during the Inquisition, and in the 3.5 years, he's going to wear out the saints. The Lord said he's going to make war with the saints, and he is going to prevail. They're going to war, and think to change times and laws, everything you got. God said the evening and the morning is the first day. The day starts at dark. He said his day starts in the morning. And you got the Israelites running around teaching that. First day is the Lord's Sabbath. The 7th day of the Lord's Sabbath. He said the first day of the Christian Sabbath. God said, I'm going to come here. I want to live on the earth, set up my kingdom. He said, you got it. We're going to go to heaven. He changed the times and the laws, sisters and brothers. But go ahead and read what verse?
Middle of 25.
Go ahead.
And think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
3.5 years.
Right.
Put it in your face. Go ahead and read.
But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it unto the end.
So his dominion. Whose dominion? The ones that's going to be riding that beast. And they're going to destroy it to the end. Go ahead and read.
And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom.
And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom, go ahead.
Under the whole heaven.
Under the whole heaven.
Shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him.
So if his kingdom, under the whole heaven, if it's going to be under the whole heaven, then where's it going to be? Right here. So now, it said these 10 going to stand against the Lord. It says also with that stature that a stone is going to hit him on the feet. And when that stone hit that statue, why hit him on the feet? Because the 10 toes are going to be the only part of that statue that left. And that stone, sisters and brothers, that was cut out without hand is Jesus, and it said he's going to fill the entire earth. Now let's go to the last place here. Let's go into Daniel's, the 2nd chapter, back to where we started, Daniel's chapter 2. And this dates where we are, sisters and brothers. We got some people in here going to see the coming of the Lord, and I hope I'm one of them. Now, I'm not saying it out of emotions. I'm saying it from what's written in prophecy. Daniel's 2, and we're going to start reading at verse 40. Daniel's chapter 2, and we're going to start reading at verse 40. 2 and 40. Daniel's 2 and 40. Okay, read it.
And the 4th kingdom shall be strong as iron. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. But there shall be in it of the strength of the iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay.
So these are the feet. Strong and weak nation. Go ahead and read.
And as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken.
Go, keep reading.
And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay.
So these nations are not going to give up their identity. They're just going to give their strength to one man. But they're going to operate as one unit, the old Roman Empire. And look, this is what gets me, sisters and brothers. This dates it. Go ahead.
And in the days of these kings.
In the days of these kings.
Shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom.
Shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. Finish that.
Which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.
So, sisters and brothers, it said, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. We are looking at them under the name of the European Union. Exactly the way prophecy called it. Sisters and brothers, we're right at the door. We're going to see this thing. You understand? Because we are in the days of these kings. The Lord have called everything in order from Nebuchadnezzar down to the European Union, which is going to be terminated when Jesus comes. That's why I tell you in Luke, the 21st chapter, it talks about the moon and the stars and why he's going to send Israel into captivity, and we're going to be scattered all over the nation, all over the world, until the time of the Gentiles is fulfilled. The time of the Gentiles is about to be fulfilled right now. Because, sisters and brothers, we are in the days of these kings. Thank you for your time.
No sorrow and despair. Garments we will wear when we prepare to change. Lord, I pray every day. Keep me in your way. I will change. In the twinkling of an eye. With me, you in the sky, we'll never die. Change. Of your son. The victory is won. Lord, I'm so grateful. Gonna change the way that I walk. And I walk. Gonna change the way that I talk. Gonna change the things that I do. Just like you will change. Change the way that I pray. And I pray. Gonna change the things that I say. Lord Jesus, I will obey. Until that day will change. Change the things that I see. And I see. Gonna treat my brother like me. I pray.